We'll start off arm balances with Bakasana, which is also known as crow pose. Now, there's a little bit of confusion to the difference between crow pose or crane pose, or some are even taught as the same pose or as opposite poses. So the way that I understand it, the main difference between a crow pose and a crane pose is one which the knees are completely stacked on the tricep as a platform, and then the other is this drawing in and almost this compression that gets the support for the lift. Yeah? So I'll show you the differences between the two. So the first one is how I interpret a crow pose. So a crow pose, probably best seen facing directly on, just to start off with. So in any pose, we want to have the palms and the fingertips spread as wide as possible. I'll get you to come back a little bit just to make sure it's in the camera. And then we can start to just lean forward and back, just getting the feeling of putting pressure onto the fingertips. And then for our crow, we want to get the upper arm, so above the elbow where the triceps are, to the inside of the thighs. We still want to create a bit of a platform, so we want to make sure that the shoulders are at least lowering your 45-degree angle, maybe lower if you can. And then the knees draw and squeeze into the upper arms, and that's what creates that support and lift. And then we can play with getting the feet close together. Cool. So I'll get you to come and face me this way. So to spot or support, you can either do this on a one-on-one, or you can get the students to do this for each other. Get them in a low lunge, and then hands can either be resting on the shoulders, thumb under or over, or what can often help is just to have the fingertips underneath the shoulders around the collarbone area. So that way, they don't fall forward. So they can practice getting into the position, and then you can just support. So don't push them, because otherwise they won't be able to get into that floating position, but just give them enough support that they know that they're safe and they're not going to fall forward. Because often that can be the difference. Because if you're backing off too much, you're not going to be able to find that bone stacking and that effortlessness. But again, if you go too far, you might go over that point of no return and then have to catch yourself out, or could potentially fall on your face or head. So you can put a bolster or some pillows or a block in front to support that, where you would just kind of let your head fall down to the ground onto something more soft or supportive, and that's a good way to get people over the fear of actually falling forward. And I'll get you to face the back wall while you do this exact same thing. And something that often helps, so I'll get you to go a little bit closer, thank you. Something that can help is this zipping up motion. So we want to draw the lower belly in. Imagine you're zipping up a tight pair of pants. But once you come into the pose, clapping your feet together, so pressing your feet in towards each other, can really help to zip up through that center point. So just a simple little clap of the feet together can help, but that will really help to zip up. So when I do that, if I don't have my feet there, it feels a little bit different for me, but as soon as I press that, I feel like I get that zip up and lift through the inside. Now, the main difference between the crow version and the crane version is that with the crane version, we really aim for a stacking. So the elbows are tucked over the knees, and then we rely quite heavily on the knees on top. Yeah? Whereas the crow is more outside and using that squeezing in. So crane is usually stacked, crow is usually inside. From the front, crane is stacked on the platform, so it relies more so on that platform of the upper arm, and then crow is more the squeezing in of the thighs. So some people prefer one or the other. I find with people with maybe longer legs and slightly shorter arms might struggle with crane a little bit because it could just be their length of their upper leg and how far they need to get their arm down to be able to get that in there. So everyone's anatomy will be different, and some people might prefer one or the other. So it can be good to instruct both if you have time in a class. Definitely if you're doing one-on-ones, it can really help to find which one the student is more comfortable with initially to give them a bit of confidence, but eventually work towards doing both, as they both have benefits in different ways.